This is the Armstrong and Getty Show on 910 AM. Armstrong and Getty. I'm Jack Armstrong. He's Joe Getty. Very excited to have Congressman Tom McClintock in studio today, covering a variety of issues. We've already touched on Prop 8 and anchor babies.
Have we ever mentioned to you how much we love the radio ad that Fred Thompson did for you? I wish we'd listened to Tom McClintock.
We really liked that ad.
That was great. And before we get into
good times.
Any progress on getting me onto some sort of phony commission?
Well, plenty to choose from.
Are you following the race for governor in California at all?
I am, yes.
And Meg Whitman? Are you following Meg Whitman? Are you supporting Meg Whitman? Have you backed Meg Whitman?
No.
Are you prepared to endorse Meg Whitman?
I'm not prepared to endorse her right now. If it comes down to a choice between Arnold Schwarzenegger's third term with Meg Whitman or Jerry Brown's third term with Jerry Brown, any way you cut it, it's going to be a long 4 years.
That's well worded.
It bothers me that just a week or two after she had Pete Wilson go on the air across California assuring us that Meg Whitman supported 187 would be tough as nails on immigration, she starts running ads in the Spanish media opposed to 187 and also opposed to Arizona's law, which, again, is simply a determination to enforce existing federal law.
Oh, I see. See, you've misspoke. She now says she supports Arizona's law for Arizona, but not for California.
Well, then that's a double problem because Arizona's law means that illegal immigrants are leaving for other states like California. So that makes it a bigger problem.
You know, there are a lot of specific things we'd like to talk to you about, but the question of politicians and political parties selling their souls for the so-called Latino vote is going to be a gigantic issue in the years to come. It already is.
Well, not only that, but Americans of Hispanic descent are just as angry about illegal immigration as anybody else. In fact, the people I found who are the angriest about illegal immigration are legal immigrants who stood in line, who obeyed our laws, who did everything our country asked of them to do because they wanted to become Americans. And now they're watching 20 million illegal aliens cut in line in front of them. And they're angry about that, and I don't blame them. They resent it.
So those people are anti-immigration, then?
So they're anti-illegal immigration.
Do you just want to punch people in the head when they do that?
And by the way, you know, our immigration laws were not written to keep people out. Our immigration laws, unlike virtually every other country in the world, were written to assure that as people come to our country, they assimilate into American society. They acquire a common language and a common culture and a common appreciation of American constitutional principles. That's the only way you can create one great country out of all the countries of the world, one nation of immigrants. Mm-hmm. Illegal immigration undermines that whole process of legal immigration that makes our country possible in the first place.
Hear, hear.
Just to finish up that conversation about anchor babies and the 14th Amendment, is this just some posturing by some excitement leading up to an election, or do you think there's actually a move from like Senator Graham talked about, doing something about it?
Legislation's already been introduced. In fact, I've co-sponsored one of the bills to do so. And I think it's going to be a big issue in all of the congressional elections this year, which could be a watershed year.
I've been watching the media, and if you follow the media, it's just being looked at as, boy, this is ridiculous. This is how extreme things have gotten. There are some nuts out there who want to stop our cherished system of if you're born here, you're an American citizen. And I think they're going to be shocked. My guess is that the American public, the majority of the American public would be for doing away with that provision. That'd be my guess.
I don't think there's any doubt of that. I mean, you see the overwhelming support that the Arizona law has.
Right.
And by the way, substantial support, again, among Americans of Hispanic descent as well.
Hey, speaking of watershed years and elections and such, what did you make of the results in Missouri yesterday where they apparently repudiated the Obamacare plan by 72%?
Yeah, like a 3-to-1 margin.
Yeah.
I think that's an accurate reflection of sentiment across the country. And it really is a terrible precedent. That particular part of the measure requires every American to purchase insurance. This is the first time the federal government has ever asserted the power to force free citizens to buy stuff the government thinks they ought to buy. And if that precedent is allowed to stand, well, then what's to stop the government in the next recession from ordering every American to buy a car from Government Motors? That would be good for the economy, wouldn't it?
Or 2% milk for your kid or whatever so they don't get fat.
Yeah, well, there won't be any stop to it if that dam is allowed to burst. Oh, my God.
Congressman Tom McClintock's in studio. I know your leader, your hero, Nancy Pelosi, has called you guys back to Washington to follow her to new glories.
Apparently,
why has Congress been yanked back in session?
Apparently, we weren't spending enough. So we're going to go back and pump another $26 billion that we don't have. You know, again, remember, we're running a $1.5 trillion deficit, but we're going to borrow another $26 billion to send to state governments like California, which, as I said, at the height of the economy, was still running a $10 billion deficit.
The only Congress and administration that is worth spending money than the Bush administration is the Obama administration. I mean, so why should people believe or trust that if the Republicans got back in power this time, it's not going to be all about spending money again?
Well, the assurance I can offer you is this. The Republicans in name only who were responsible for that debacle of the Bush years, when they actually increased spending twice as fast as Bill Clinton did, it took Bill Clinton's 4 years of surpluses and turned them into what at the time were historic deficits. Now they look absolutely quaint, but at the time, just a few years ago, they were massive and completely unsustainable. But the people responsible for that were largely turned out of office in 2006 and 2008. I mean, I replaced one and defeated another in order to win the 4th Congressional District 2 years ago. So I can tell you that they've been replaced by a new generation who are fiercely dedicated to restoring these principles of individual freedom and limited government that had once created the most prosperous republic in the history of the world, and will again.
You look presidential, Tom. I'm just saying. You just on camera. You look just who?
You mean old?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Any names percolating out there, promising, a little bit exciting? Just, if you throw out a little list, it won't seem like you're picking anybody.
Well, the guy who impresses me the most is a familiar name, Newt Gingrich. And I realize he's an acquired taste, but there is a fellow who has the experience, the gravity, the grounding that's going to be necessary to save our country. And I realize we'll have to work a little harder to get him elected. But I think one big failing of Republicans over the years is we worry so much about what kind of candidate the individual is going to be, and spend no time at all wondering what kind of a leader is this guy going to be if we actually manage to get him elected. Newt Gingrich seems to me to be a no-brainer when it comes to the leading voice of the Republicans across the country.
I've always been amazed at Tom McClintock's optimism because I am a cynic and I assume we're doomed, and it's grab yours while you can because it's all going downhill, that sort of thing. But Tom is an optimist. I want to put words in your mouth. You can't tell me that
don't choke on them.
You can't tell me that your optimism hasn't been chipped away at just a little bit since you've been in Washington, D.C.
Look, Lincoln put it best.
Just a little bit.
In 1864, Lincoln said, the voters are everything. If the voters get their backsides too close to the fire, they will just have to sit on the blisters a while. It is a painful experience. It's a frustrating experience, but they emerge sadder and wiser, and that's what we're watching happen right now. So I think we've got some very rough sledding over the next couple of years.
So
but I've never been more optimistic about the long-term future of our country because the people are now getting ready to set things right.
So in that story, that Lincoln story, so we're living through the blister period.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it
right.
feels so bad.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
There was just a tracking poll by Pulse Opinion Research. They are now doing a daily tracking poll on the Tea Party movement. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Etc. Now, granted, it's a little amorphous. What is it? Well, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. But 54% said overall supported the Tea Party movement strongly or somewhat. 41% opposed it, a little more strongly than somewhat. 31% of self-identified Democrats support the Tea Party movement.
How many? 31% now?
31%.
Wow. Well, and the Gallup polls that have been showing for quite a while now that 2-to-1 people prefer smaller government. 2-to-1. People consider themselves small government people to large government people.
Well, I'd seen two polls a couple of months ago on the Tea Party. One of them, and basically reflecting what you just cited. One is that the American people side much more with the Tea Party than they do with the Obama administration. So you can't call this a radical fringe movement. It is mainstream. And the other thing is, your number is actually higher. The number I saw was 60% Republican, 20 Independent, 20 Democrat. But, there's another term for that. That's the Reagan coalition, alive again in a new generation.
It's well-worn ground, but it's extraordinary to me the extent to which the media lens has distorted, for instance, the Tea Party movement, what it is and how much support it enjoys. I mean, if you exclusively watch network TV, including the cable networks, you would think it was 10% of America that Homeland Security should be watching.
But most people don't watch exclusively those stations. Most people now have a much broader range of information available to them. And as Thomas Jefferson said, error of opinion may be tolerated where reason is free to combat it. Reason has never been freer than it is now with all of the different information sources we have available to us, and people are availing themselves of those resources.
You're always quoting those old guys, Tom. Like Jefferson. Quote Judge Vaughn Walker and Nancy Pelosi. Get up to date.
Do you have this stuff written down on your hand? Is that how you remember it?
Along with my laundry list,
Congressman Tom McClintock. Tom, let's stay in touch.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's always encouraging to talk to you.
A little optimism in this room is refreshing. It's like it's like putting a plant in here or something.
And, frankly, I don't care if he's lying to us. It just makes me feel better. But I know you're not. Tom McClintock, everybody.
Thanks for coming in. We do appreciate it.
Again, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See you again.